Commander Zix Thala flexed her chromatophore membranes, watching the electromagnetic shimmer cascade across her chitinous exoskeleton as the phase shift generator hummed to life. Around her, the observation deck of the silent current fell into what her species called the unseeable spectrum, a perfect optical camouflage that bent light around their forms like water around stones. "Infiltration protocols are active," announced her chief science officer, Keth Moore, his own form now a barely perceptible distortion in the air. "The primitive bipeds below cannot possibly detect our presence." Zix Thala nodded, though the gesture was meaningless when invisible. For 3 cycles, her people, the Veltahi, had observed dozens of worlds using this technology. Never once had a species even glanced in their direction. The optical phase shift was perfect, rendering them completely transparent to any electromagnetic spectrum these crude civilizations could perceive. Earth hung below them like a blue marble, its surface crawling with nearly 8 billion humans. Such a young species, barely having achieved chemical rockets and primitive nuclear fission. Their detection capabilities were laughably rudimentary compared to Veltar high science. "Begin descent to observation altitude," Zix Thala commanded. "We'll study their urban centers first." Standard xenobiological survey protocols. The silent current dropped through Earth's atmosphere, its hull perfectly invisible as it settled into a stationary position 300 meters above downtown New York City. The ship's sensors recorded everything: human social interactions, their primitive wireless communications, their chaotic transportation systems. "Fascinating," Keth Moore observed, reviewing the data streams. "They seem to navigate their metal conveyances without any form of centralized coordination. Completely inefficient, yet somehow functional." Zix Thala was about to respond when movement caught her attention on the observation screen. A small group of humans had gathered on a building's rooftop directly below them. Nothing unusual, except they were all pointing upward, directly at the ship. "Curious," she murmured. "Enhance that section." The image zoomed in, revealing a dozen humans with strange devices aimed skyward. Some held rectangular objects that emitted electromagnetic pulses, primitive scanning equipment. Others had cylindrical instruments pressed to their optical organs. "Commander," Keth Moore's voice carried a note of concern. "Those bipeds appear to be looking at us. Impossible. Run a full diagnostic on the phase shift generators. All systems functioning within normal parameters. We are completely invisible across the entire electromagnetic spectrum they can perceive." But the humans continued pointing. One of them, a female with brown fur on her head, suddenly gestured excitedly to the others. They began repositioning their equipment, tracking something across the sky, following the exact path of the silent current. "How are they doing this?" Zix Thala demanded. "Unknown, Commander. Perhaps coincidence?" To test the theory, Zix Thala ordered the ship to move in a complex pattern up 50 meters, lateral movement east, then a sharp descent. The humans below mirrored every movement, their instruments tracking the ship's path with uncanny precision. "This is unprecedented," Keth Moore whispered. "No species has ever detected our presence before. Scan them more thoroughly. What are those devices they're using?" The ship's sensors probed deeper, analyzing the human equipment. The readings were baffling. "Commander, they're not using electromagnetic detection at all. These devices appear to be measuring gravitational disturbances, atmospheric displacement, infrared heat signatures partially masked by our stealth systems, but still detectable with their calibrated equipment." Zix Thala's chromatophores flickered with surprise. "They're detecting our mass displacement?" "It appears so. But that should be impossible. Their technology is centuries behind ours. How could they develop gravitational sensors when they haven't even achieved faster than light travel?" The answer came as more humans appeared on neighboring rooftops. Each group carried similar equipment, but their approaches varied wildly. Some measured minute changes in local electromagnetic fields caused by the ship's power systems. Others tracked the subtle air displacement created by their hull, using acoustic sensors to map the invisible object above them. Most remarkably, some humans were using biological detection methods, trained animals, that could sense the alien presence through chemical markers or pressure changes their owners couldn't perceive. They're not using a single detection method, Zixthala realized. They're using dozens. Each group is employing different principles to track us. But why? How did they even know to look? The answer came through their translation matrix as they intercepted human communications. The chatter revealed an organized effort, something called the Anomaly Detection Network. Apparently, humans had noticed unexplained atmospheric disturbances over major cities worldwide. Instead of dismissing these anomalies, they had organized to study them. "Look at this," Kethmore said, highlighting a data stream. "They've been tracking invisible objects for months. They call them WAPs, unidentified aerial phenomena. They've developed this detection network specifically to study things they cannot see." Ingenious, Zixthala admitted grudgingly. While other species rely solely on optical detection, these humans have realized that invisibility only means cannot be seen, not cannot be detected. Below them, the humans had grown more organized. Military vehicles were arriving, carrying larger and more sophisticated scanning equipment. The detection network was expanding, with more groups appearing across the city. Commander Kethmore reported urgently, "I'm detecting similar activity in London, Tokyo, and Sao Paulo. They're tracking our scout ships worldwide. All of them? Every single vessel in the fleet. The humans have somehow developed a global detection network capable of monitoring invisible objects through indirect signatures." Zixthala watched as more humans joined the effort below. These weren't just scientists or military personnel. Ordinary citizens were participating, using everything from amateur radio equipment to smartphone apps that measured atmospheric pressure changes. "Remarkable," she said. "They've turned their entire civilization into a sensor network. While we focused on optical invisibility, they've learned to see with gravity, sound, heat, electromagnetic disturbance, and even biological indicators." "Orders, Commander?" Zixthala considered their options. Every other species they'd encountered had been limited by their biological sensory organs. When presented with something outside their natural perception range, they remained oblivious. But humans had transcended this limitation. They had created artificial senses, extended their perception through technology, and compensated for their biological restrictions through collaborative ingenuity. "Set course for the outer system," she ordered, "and prepare a message for High Command. What shall I tell them? That we have encountered a species that cannot see us, but has nonetheless learned to detect us anyway. They have discovered that invisibility is not the absence of presence, but merely the absence of obvious visibility." As the silent current accelerated away from Earth, Zixthala watched the humans below continue their coordinated tracking efforts. Even as the ship moved beyond their detection range, new groups were appearing, expanding their sensor network, preparing for the next encounter. "Perhaps," she mused to Kethmore, "we have underestimated what it means to be truly intelligent. These humans cannot see us, yet they have chosen to perceive us anyway. Such determination may prove more formidable than any weapon." The ship jumped to hyperspace, leaving behind a world where invisibility had become merely another puzzle to solve, and where an entire species had refused to accept the limitations of what they could see.